Our team of trauma experts is in-house 24 hours a day, every single day of the year, to provide life-saving care to the community and those who live in the region. Most of the trauma victims we see are people who have been involved in motor vehicle crashes. Now, notice that I called them crashes. I did not call them accidents. Our team, after everything they've seen over all these years, knows that there is no such thing as an accident. Something led up to each and every one of those incidents happening, whether it was a drunk driver, a distracted driver, an underinflated tire. I could go on. And that's why we're here today. We're here today to talk about those issues. Much of our level 1 trauma team, they love to do what they do, but they would prefer, quite frankly, to sit idle all day. They don't want to see a lot of what they end up having to see, especially the young people that are involved. So together with our partners at the Texas Department of Transportation and with our area law enforcement agencies, we today are recommitting ourselves to the state's Seated for Life campaign, which is designed to improve the safety of the traveling public in our region. So to explain a little bit about what that program is and to introduce our next guest, here's Mr. Jim Valenti, our President and CEO.
And thank you all for coming here, our partners. Right before this message, I was talking about the close fraternity that we have with doctors and nurses and healthcare with law enforcement. So for those of you that are watching from the TV from home, we have our boardroom filled with law enforcement partners and doctors and nurses in the room, as well as our partners with TxDOT, and we appreciate everyone in a concerted effort working on this important campaign. And as Margaret said, we really, as a community, can do better. Too many El Pasoans, especially young people, needlessly lose their lives each year. If they had just worn their seat belt or used car seats for their children, they would be much better and would have been able to avoid serious and life-threatening injuries and even death. Unfortunately, the statistics say otherwise, and that's why we're trying to, with this campaign, is bring attention to the public, our community, our neighbors in our community, to really emphasize seat belts and wearing of seat belts and car seats. And that's why TxDOT and UMC are recommitting ourselves to the efforts to stop this needless loss of life. No one on our campus has worked harder to save lives than UMC's trauma medical director, and that's Dr. Alan Tyrock. I'm going to have Dr. Tyrock come to the podium and give his message. Dr. Tyrock?
Thanks, Jim. Well, good morning. Thanks for coming. Seatbelts save lives. That's a fact. Statistics will show that. I think some of the speakers later will tell you some statistics. I can attest to that for being in the trauma center since 1997, working with the nurses and the other physicians, and we see this on a daily basis. So seatbelts save lives. Texas has actually come a long way. I can think back in, the early 1960s when nobody wore a seatbelt. Most of the cars didn't have a seatbelt. We were just talking earlier about when we were children back there. I remember being in the back seat. I think it was like a 61 Oldsmobile, and we'd always go for a ride, and I'd be riding the back seat. In the back behind the rear window, the side windows were open because there was no air conditioning. If we were in a crash, I would have got tossed out of the car. It's been shown that 3 out of 4 people that get tossed out of a vehicle will die. And obviously, if they don't die, they're going to have some bad injuries. I can remember our first car that had a seatbelt. It was a 1969 Chevy Impala. My father brought it right from the parking lot. We looked at those things and said, "What are those things there?" And they said, "Those are seatbelts." And we wore them for about 2 weeks, and I can tell you within a month, they were all pushed underneath the seats themselves, and we never used them. It wasn't until about 1985 that the federal law came into effect where everybody required seatbelt use in the various states. There was primary enforcement, secondary enforcement, and we don't need to talk about that. And the reasons a lot of states did it because they were going to lose federal funds. And that made compliance go up, thank goodness. And we're about 94% in this state now. One of the leaders. We're Texans. We don't want to do things if the federal government says that, but this is the right thing to do. Personally, I think I've cared for over 8,000 trauma patients since 1997. There is no minor trauma when it's you or your family. And I can't remember every family or every person that died in our trauma center, but unfortunately we've seen a lot of people that died due to lack of car seats or seat belts. I'm going to give you a couple stories that really stick in my mind. One was, oh gosh, it was about 12 years ago now. It was a 9-month-old infant. And we've all experienced this when we had little children or babies, crying. And so the family said, we can't stop this, they can't console the child. So they just took the child for a short little ride in their neighborhood. Low speed impact. They hit a pothole because there was constructions on the west side of El Paso, close to where Franklin High School is now. And the airbag deployed. The grandmother was holding the baby on her lap, unrestrained. The child hit the airbag. They brought the child in with CPR in progress. Near decapitation of the child. Obviously, that was very dramatic. I remember the nurses and the doctors talked about that for weeks, how it impacted them, because there was a lot of, I was younger there. I had a young child at that time, or infant at that time also. Let me tell you one more story, and I'm using too much time already. A 16-year-old child came in a car wreck, unrestrained, was hit on she was T-boned on the driver's side. She was the driver. She was awake and alert at the scene. She made it to UMC, it was Thomason at the time. She was hemodynamically stable. Everybody thought she was going to be fine. She was talking to me, but she dropped her blood pressure. We rushed her to the operating room. Her liver was nearly completely transected from her vena cava, which is the big vein going to the heart. We did everything we could to save her, and she died on the operating room table. Looking back that night, I remember it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought, what did I do wrong? This child was talking to me. Everything was fine. I had to go tell the father right after that, and he says, wait. The paramedic said she was alive. The police officer said she was great. She was going to be fine. We thought she was be discharged home from the hospital. Obviously, I'm sure every day they think about that girl that was 16 at the time. And I had a 16-year-old at the time, so really that hit home for me. So, yes, seatbelts save lives. We know that. It makes sense. It makes sense regarding physics. It makes sense to do it because it's the law. But really, it makes sense because that's the right thing to do. Okay? Thank you, officers, for all the help you do.
And now we have Mr. Edgar Fino, who's a supervisor, engineering supervisor with the Texas Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Margaret. It's a pleasure to be here. In regards to TxDOT, the Texas Department of Transportation, one of our missions or goals is to maintain a safe system. What I mean about a safe system is design, construct, and maintain our roadways where the traveling public is safe to use them. Safety is our #1 priority. Now, I've got some numbers in regards to fatalities that have occurred in the El Paso district. We have a fatality committee that meets on a monthly basis to discuss the fatalities that have occurred on the roadways that TxDOT maintains in the 6 counties from El Paso all the way to the Big Bend area. The numbers show, as far as the El Paso district, we had 66 fatalities in 2013. Now, the information that we use are the law enforcement police reports that are submitted to Austin. We have a data system, crash records information system, that is up to date and current within the month. We have moved into the IT world where we are able to collect that data as soon as it's received in Austin. So our fatality committee reviewed 66 fatalities for the El Paso district. 19 were pedestrian related and also involved a motorcycle. So if we remove those, we had 47 fatalities for the region. Out of those 47, 23 of the persons that got killed were not wearing their seatbelt. Okay, 23 out of the 47. That's a 49% rate as far as people dying out on our roadways that are not buckled up. El Paso County, we had 26 fatalities. 13 were not wearing their seatbelts. That's a 50% rate. Brewster County, out in Alpine, we had 2 fatalities. Both of those fatalities, they were not wearing seatbelts. That's 100% not being used. Culberson County, which is Van Horn, we had 3 fatalities. 2 of those persons that got killed were not wearing seatbelts. That's a 67% rate. Hudspeth County, which is Sierra Blanca, we had 13 fatalities in that rural county. 4 of them were not wearing seatbelts, 31% rate. Jeff Davis, which is a rural area out in Fort Davis country, 3 fatalities, 2 of them were not wearing seatbelts at a 67% rate. Just like I mentioned before, for the El Paso district, our rate was 49%. Statewide, the rate is 45% as far as people being killed on Texas roads not wearing seatbelts. So we are about 4% over that limit as far as statewide. Now, as far as TxDOT's goal, one fatality is too much. I mean, one fatality. Now, on Texas roads, we had over 3,200 fatalities last year. We had a fatality every single day, and we've had one for the past 12 years as far as a fatality occurring on TxDOT roadways. We use our electronic message boards on a daily basis with public service announcements. Some of the messages that we've used is Buckle Up Texas, it's the law, and the one that's used nationally is a Click It or Ticket. Now, today, for this event, we are going to run the Seated for Life message that you're going to be able to see once this conference is over, beginning at 11 a.m. on our electronic message boards. In conclusion, I've been with the department 28 years as far as with TxDOT. I've been on research projects, committees, group meetings, coalitions, partnering meetings, sessions, you name it, statewide, nationally. And it's from what I have seen, it's up to you, the driver, and the passenger, okay, to use your seatbelt and buckle up every single time you're in a vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fino. Now to tell you about what we're actually going to do, what's in the campaign. Our Anna Red from our Trauma Department, Prevention and Education area, and from the Horizon City Police Department, Patrol Sergeant Jesus Ortega. So if you two will come up, please.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Nationally, 3 out of 4 car seats that are used are being used incorrectly, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The University Medical Center of El Paso and the Texas Department of Transportation is focusing on promoting awareness on seatbelt use and child safety restraints through our Seated for Life campaign. In 2013, the University Medical Center of El Paso partnered with local law enforcement, which you see here today, to conduct 55 car seat events and provide 796 safety seats to our families within our community. We continue to see admissions here at University Medical Center. In 2012, we had 9 admissions. In 2013, we had another 9 admissions. These, even though 9 admissions doesn't seem an alarming number, but one death is one death too many. We cannot do this alone, which is why we collaborate with local law enforcement, and we expand the awareness throughout the El Paso region, which includes Presidio, Brewster, Jeff Davis, Hudspeth, and El Paso County. At this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Sergeant Jesse Hernandez from the Horizon PD so he can share with you some of the efforts that we've done in his community.
Good morning. Sergeant Jesus Ortega with the Horizon City Police Department. And pretty much we have teamed up with TxDOT and University Medical Center to educate the community on how to properly put their car seats. We have distributed about 120 car seats there in the Horizon area, which is very satisfying for us to be able to help the community and help protect the kids. One thing that we don't like as law enforcement officers is having to go make a notification to tell them that a loved one's not coming home because they weren't wearing a seatbelt or because they were involved in a real bad crash. We're here to educate the people and also let the parents make the parents be good examples. As if they wear the seatbelt, the kids are going to be wearing the seatbelt. We need everybody's help. I know the Sheriff Department, El Paso PD, DPS, UTEP, and Anthony are here because we are on the same mission. We want to protect the kids here in the El Paso County and help them be safe. I mean, they're our future. We want them to be successful, and we don't want them to be involved in a crash because they were not wearing a safety belt or a car seat, that they're not going to be able to have that bright future. Thank you.
When you say 9 admissions, you mean little kids that were not properly...
There are admissions that came into our hospital that were not properly restrained, and they died here at the hospital.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, finally, today we want to invite one of our, I guess, patrons, someone who's taken advantage of this particular service in the Seated for Life campaign. Her name is Ms. Raquel Ramos, and she has very young children, and she came to us for help. Ms. Ramos.
Thank you, Margaret. And thank you for letting me share this testimony as a parent and the importance of car seats that have impacted my family's life. Let me share a quick personal story. I was 6 months, and of course my parents told us this story, but I was 6 months. We were coming back late one evening from a vacation, a couple of blocks away from home, and my sister and myself, I was rolled up like they usually rolled us up out of the hospital, in a burrito, and I was just in the back seat, no seat belts, of course, at the time. The drunk driver hit us from the back. My sister and I both rolled into the bottom of the feet of the seat. My parents thought I was dead. I was asleep, and they couldn't wake me up, but I was just dead. I was just asleep. And so finally they, woke us up. Why I'm telling you this story is because when we started finding out about what we needed for our kids, as far as car seats, we would ask, back then, what did we use? What did you use for us? And the answer with our parents was nothing. We just put you in the back seat and, drove along, never thought about car seats at the time. So this personal story puts into perspective why we are here today. I am a mother of 2 beautiful babies, Maya, who is 3, and Ikan, who will be 2 next week. I learned about car seat installation through the trauma department here at UMC El Paso, which has the injury prevention program specific for car seats, and a lot of these ladies have been greatly helpful to us. This program assists, educates, and coaches parents like myself to properly install car seats and to save our child's life from accidents that if we don't buckle them up and install the car seats properly. This instruction is extremely important to our family, since car seats also have to be removed and installed in grandpa and grandma's car. So we have to also teach our family members how to install it properly, so our kids could be safe. Therefore, other kids that our parents or friends and family care for. Again, we have also learned through this program about the weight and the height limit, that never in a manual does it say when you're going to have a child that you're going to have to know exactly at what time, what age, what weight, what height your child should be in the car. And it's amazing that some people just put them in there and lock it up. No. And now we know, and we're extremely proactive, asking the ladies that have helped us through here at UMC Trauma Department. It is extremely important for our city and our region to know the facts about car seat installation, which are based on the latest injury prevention evidence. A properly installed car seat has been shown to reduce the incidence several severe injury and mortality in our children. I encourage every parent that is listening to be considerate of how and the proper way to install a car seat and to prevent injuries, and that will benefit their family. UMC of El Paso, through the trauma department, has been a great resource to my family, and I'm sure to many families here in El Paso. I thank you very much, and just remember, it's not just a car seat, it's a properly installed car seat that is going to save your child's life. Thank you very much.
I'm probably older than anybody up here, and I can remember not using a seatbelt, standing behind my dad as he drove, literally standing in that little well in the back of your back seat, and I would watch how he drove, and that's really how I learned to drive. And then seatbelts became something you had to do, and I can remember having to learn to put it on. We would put signs in the car that said, "Buckle up," right in front of where you sat. we've come a very, very long way from that, because that took a lot of training. We were used to just jumping in the car and going. Today, I would venture to say that most kids jump in the car and automatically reach for their seatbelt. And that's a tremendous change than when I was a child. So we've come a long way, but as you've heard, we still have a very long way to go. And we would ask you all to be very vigilant. We ask our partners in law enforcement to help spread the word. We thank TxDOT for their coming up with this campaign and for involving us in it. Thank you all very much for coming.